Welcome everyone to the light of Zion. The light of Zion is our God's word. Yahuwah's word is a lamp for our feet and a light for the road that we travel. Shine your light, O Yahuwah. Let it lead us to your holy mountains. Shine your light, O Yahuwah. Let it lead us back to Zion. Shine your light and let it guide us on our journey back to you. Shine your light, for it is good for me. And with that, I say, welcome to the light of Zion. Greetings, everyone. It's my pleasure again to come to you with another enlightening message from the light of Zion. I thank you again for joining me, for finding this video and listening to it. Today I'm coming to you with another interesting discussion, and this one is titled The Gods of the Nations. The gods that the nations are serving, and why we Israel descendants are not to serve the God, are not to continue to serve the gods of the nations. So follow along as we break this down. In the book of Micah chapter 4 verse 5, there it is written, and Micah foretold, said, "For all the people will walk in the name of his God. But we, the Israelite descendants, will walk in the name of Yahuwah, our God, forever and ever." Yes, it was foretold that all the peoples of the other nations will walk in the name of their God. But we Israel descendants, we are to walk in the name of our God, Yahuwah our God, forever and ever. So, how come that we Israel descendants are serving the gods of the nations? How come we are serving the gods of the other nations? Well, each nation and people we go by or carry out their activities in the name of their gods. Yes, the nations carry out their activities in the name of their gods. Each nation and each people have a God that they serve and they worship. Yes, whether they are the Babylonians, the Medo-Persians, the Grecians, the Romans, each nation or civilization has a God that they serve. And each of these nations will walk or go by or carry out their activities in the name of their gods. Even the wars are fought in the name of the gods of the nations, of each nation. Yes, when nations go to war, you have seen the bishops or the chief priests blessing the people as they go to war with each other. So when a nation defeats a people at war, they usually absorb and force the defeated people to serve the conquerors or the colonizers' gods. When a nation defeats other nation, they absorb the other nation and force their people to do what? To serve the God of their nation. That is, the victor's nation's God becomes the dominant God. Even the wealth and the inheritances and the knowledge of the defeated people are usually absorbed to enrich the conqueror's nation. So that is how Israel's descendants has come to serve the God, to be serving the gods of the other nations. For example, Babylon defeated Judah and absorbed them and made them to serve the false gods of Babylon. For example, it's written in the book of Daniel chapter 1 verse 1 to 3. There is written, in the 3rd year of kingship of the king Jehoiakim of Judah, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon came to Jerusalem and besieged it. In time, Yahuwah gave King Jehoiakim of Judah into his hands, along with some of the utensils of the house of the true God. And he brought them to the land of Shinar, to the house of his God. And he placed the utensils in the treasury of his God. Then the king ordered Ashpenaz, his chief court official, to bring some of the Israelites, including those of royal and noble descent. So King Nebuchadnezzar defeated King Joachim of Judah, and he absolved the Israelites. Yes, he absolved them, and he conquered Judah and brought the utensils dedicated to the true God and put it in the house of his own God. And now he continued to in verse 4 to 7 of Daniel, the book of Daniel chapter 1, verse 4 to 7, there is written, so they were to be youths without any defect, of good appearance, endowed with wisdom, knowledge, and discernment, and capable of serving in the king's palace. He was to teach them the writing of the language of the Chaldeans. Furthermore, the king assigned to them a daily ration from the king's delicacies and from the wine he drank. They were to be trained for 3 years, and at the end of that time they were to enter the king's service. Now among them were some from the tribe of Judah: Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And the principal court official assigned names to them. He gave to Daniel the name Belshazzar, to Hananiah the name Shadrach, and to Mishael the name Meshach, and to Azariah the name Abednego. So yes, the conquered nation will absorb the people of the defeated nations. The conquered nation will absorb even the wealth of the defeated nation. In this case, Nebuchadnezzar collected all the utensils, gold, and all that used in the service of the true God, and he brought it to the house of his God in Babylon. So the defeated people are to be absorbed by the conqueror's nation and they were to be absorbed into the system of doing things the system of doing things of the conqueror's nation. Also, the defeated nation, or the people of the defeated nation, we are to be re-educated in the knowledge and the school system of their conqueror. For example, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah were among the children of Judah that were sent to such re-education in school or college, in this case a 3-year college, so that they can be re-educated in order to adopt the custom and culture of their conqueror's nation and system. So they even gave them scholarship. You can say they gave them scholarship, free re-education, and free food, room and boarding, so that they can do what? Forget about their inheritance and be assimilated into their new nation, which is the conqueror Babylonian system. So that is how Israelites came to be serving the gods of the other nations, because many of the ones that we absorbed adopted the customs, the culture of the nation that conquered them, and many of them forget about their inheritance or where they came from anymore. They now were assimilated into the new culture of their colonized or their masters. So this sending them to school to re-educate them is to train them, that is Israel descendants, to accept and adapt to new culture and forget about seeking their past and to forget about seeking their heritage. So that is how Israelite descendants came to be serving the gods of the other nations, because Israel was defeated, Israel was conquered, and they became absorbed into other cultures. They started serving the gods of the other nations that defeated them. Why was Israel defeated? Well, Israel was defeated because of our error. Because of the error, we left our God and went to seek after the gods of the nations in order to serve them. That's why Israel was defeated. And this same thing has repeated over and over and over. Yes, he repeated from Babylon to the Medo-Persian civilization. He repeated in the Greek civilization, the Roman civilization. Even to modern time, Israel descendants are still a defeated people, scattered among the nations because of our error. Yes, our inheritance has been taken over by the other nations, and we are serving the gods of our enemies. Yes, we are serving the gods given to us by our enemies, and we are still in the land of our enemies, scattered among the nations. So that is how Israel descendants came to be serving the gods of the nations. While in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 25, verse 14, there is written, Jeremiah foretold, say, for many nations and great kings will make slaves of them, and I will repay them according to their deeds and the works of their own hands. So Jeremiah foretold that many nations will make Israelite descendants their slaves. And that is what has happened. Israel was slaves in Babylon. After coming out from Egypt, they were slaves to the Assyrians, slaves to the Babylonians, slaves to the Mesopotamia, slaves under Greek civilization. They were slaves under the Roman civilization. Till today, Israelite descendants were still slaves scattered among the nations because of our error of leaving our God to go and serve the gods of the other nations. So Israelite descendants has been subjected to a slavery position by many nations and many civilizations that rose up on the earth. But remember what was foretold, that many nations will enslave Israel descendants because of our error. So even when we flee to other places and try to rise up as a people, our enemies always comes again and again and defeats us and subjects Israelite descendants to a slavery position. And this is because of our leaving our God and seeking after the gods of the other nations. That is how we came to be serving the gods of the other nations. But the question is this: will Israel descendants serve the gods of the nations forever? Will we serve the God of the nations forever? Well, the answer is no. Because in the book of Micah, chapter 4, verse 5, it's written, for all the peoples will walk in the name of each in the name of his God. But we, the Israelite descendants, will walk in the name of Yahuwah, our God, forever and ever. So Israelite descendants will not continue forever to serve the gods of the nations. Yes, we Israel descendants will return and we walk in the name of Yahuwah our God forever. But the question is, when are we to return to walk in the name of Yahuwah our God forever? When will we return to seeking and calling on the name of Yahuwah our God forever? Because we will not continue to serve the gods of the nations forever. So when are we to return to call on the name of Yahuwah our God and serve Yahuwah our God? Notice what is written. In the book of Hosea chapter 6 verse 1 and 2, there is written, so come and let us return to Yahuwah our God, for he has torn us to pieces, but he will heal us. He struck us, but he will bind our wounds. He will revive us after 2 days, and on the third day we will live before him. So it was foretold by the prophet Hosea that Yahuwah will punish Israel for 2 days and then revive us up on the third day. So that is why he said we should come and let us do what? Return to Yahuwah, our God. How do we return? It is by leaving the gods of the nations and start calling upon the name of Yahuwah, our God. Are we to return to him? Stop serving the gods given to us by the nations and start calling on the name of Yahuwah, your God, so that he can raise us up on the third day. For the third day is coming soon. We are approaching the end of the 2 days. So we will not continue serving the gods of the nations forever. But we will return to serving Yahuwah our God and calling upon his name forever and ever. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 10, verse 20, there is written, in that day, that is in the days when Israel's descendants will return to serving the gods, they are calling on the name of their God. It's written, in that day the remaining ones of Israel and the survivors of the house of Jacob will no longer support themselves on the one who struck them, but they will support themselves on Yahuwah, the Holy One of Israel, with faithfulness. Only a remnant will return, the remnant of Jacob, to the mighty God. So yes, it was foretold that in the final part of the 2 days punishment on Israel, Yahuwah promised to raise up the chosen ones of Israel's descendants, who will no longer go by or follow the narration of things, or follow the religions or the education indoctrinations of our conqueror nations. Yes, we no longer follow the religions and education of our slave masters or our colonizers, but we will trust in Yahuwah our God with faithfulness to deliver us. We will return to calling on the name of Yahuwah our God, because Israel will no longer will not serve the gods of the nations forever. All the peoples of the nations each will walk in the name of their God, but we Israelite descendants will walk in the name of Yahuwah our God forever. So this calling out, returning to the calling of the name of Yahuwah our God, will take place in the final part of the 2 days of our punishment. That is when God, our God, will start waking us up so that we can return to calling upon his name for our salvation. These chosen ones of Israel that God will raise up are now being called upon to come out from among the empire of false religion and start calling on the name of Yahuwah our God for our salvation. We are being called upon to come out from the religions of the nations that we have all gone into to serve. Just as it was written, Yahuwah will scatter us among the nations, and there we are to serve the gods of the nations, gods of wood and stone. We are being called upon to come out from all these religions if we want to be saved. Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, in all the corners that God has scattered us, even in idolatry, we are being asked to come out from among them if we want to be salvaged. In the book of Revelation chapter 18 verse 4, there is written, "And I heard another voice out of the heavens say, Get out of her, my people, if you do not want to share in her sins, and if you do not want to receive part of her plague. So yes, Yahuwah God wants us to come out of all these false religions that we have gone into, that we have been taught among the nations where we have gone. Those who heed the warning should return to seeking and calling on the name of Yahuwah, the God of Israel, for your salvation at the appointed time. Yes, heed the warning. Return to calling on the name of Yahuwah your God, for your salvation at the appointed time. Because Israelite descendants will not continue to serve the gods of the nations forever. The people of the other nations who will join us, for people of other nations who will join Israelite descendants to call on the name of the true God, these also will be salvaged. Those people of the other nations who will leave the false gods of the nations and join Israelite descendants to call upon the name of Yahuwah, the true God, will also be salvaged at the end. For in the book of Acts chapter 2 verse 21 there is written, "And everyone who calls on the name of Yahuwah will be saved." Yes, everyone who returns to calling on the name of Yahuwah, the God of Israel, will be saved. So first, salvation is for Israelite descendants, and then for the people of the other nations who will join Israel descendants to call on and to trust in the name of Yahuwah, the true God. These ones we owe their salvation because of our God, who will pardon them, who will show them mercy at the appointed time of the final judgment. They will be the ones that will say, like as written in the book of Revelation, salvation we owe to our God, who is seated on the throne, and to the Lamb. So those who acknowledge that Yahuwah is the true God and join the Israelites' descendants to call upon the name of our God will be salvaged during the final part of the punishment of the final judgment. So, in conclusion, yes, Israelite descendants, for thousands of years, we have been serving the gods of the nations, the gods of our conquerors, the nations that defeated us in war and took us and made us slaves to serve them and their gods. That is what we have been doing for thousands of years. But in these final days, Yahuwah God is awakening us up as He promised that He will do, so that we should call upon His name, His great name, Yahuwah, for our salvation. And all that will exercise faith and call upon the name of Yahuwah, the Holy One of Israel, will be salvaged. The peoples of the other nations who will join Israelite descendants to acknowledge that Yahuwah is the true God and to call upon His name for their salvation will also be shown mercy. So these ones will owe their salvation because our God will show them mercy, or we choose to pardon their mistakes. So it's up to you. Will you continue to serve the gods of the nations, or will you return to serving Yahuwah, the God of Israel, your God? Until I come to you next time, click the like button, share this message with others, make your comments about what you are hearing. Let me know what your interests are or what you dislike. So until I come to you next time, return, for this is the time to return to serve Yahuwah, the true God of Israel, until he returns to show us mercy, until he returns to raise us back up. Again, remain blessed, and peace to you.